Well, good Wednesday afternoon. I hope you've had a good week so far, and I have. Much better than it's been the last several weeks. But I come up here to the park thinking I would come up here and make my video. It sure is muggy out here though. But anyway, that's okay. We need the rain, we need the moisture, so we'll thank the Lord for it. He says, be thankful in all things. But anyway, I wanted to share something with you. I know it's a little earlier in the week, and I may have another video that I'll do maybe Friday or Saturday. But this one, I was talking to the Lord last night about my family and about the ones I've been praying for, and it just, just thinking about the where they're at in their life, and really where we're all at. Life is really, really hard right now for everybody, and I was just thinking to myself, Lord, I can't do anything about their lives. I'm praying for them, and it's really up to you. I'm like everybody else. I'm just treading water. We're all caught up in or trying to survive. We're all trying to survive. Christians and sinners alike. We're just all trying to survive in this crazy, crazy world. And Jesus told us that it would be like this in the end times. And man, is he ever right. He's always right about everything. But, he was right. Because if you read, in the New Testament, it's in some of Paul's writings where he talks about how people will be in the end times. But he also told us that, that in when Jesus was talking to his disciples, I believe it was in Matthew. I wrote it down up here. Wait a minute. Let's see. No, it's in Matthew 24. But I'll read that one here in just a minute. Anyway, he told us that it would be like this in the end times. But so we're all struggling. I don't know, everybody I talk to, no matter where you're at in the financial status, or even if your family seems to be doing okay, the rest of the world is really going crazy, and we know that, and we're all treading water. But anyway, I'm going to read you some verses, but something that the Lord showed me last night, but let me read this, and then I'll go over what I believe he was showing me. Let's see, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6. So, God does not, he has not put it upon us. We can't save anybody. That's his job. But verse 6 in chapter 3 of 1 Corinthians says, I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So, that's all he's asked us to do, is we've got to plant the seed. For the seeds, for those that the seed has been planted, we just water it. We come along and we share Jesus with them. Even if it's just a casual word, we don't have to preach to them. That's not what they want anyway. They want to see it in our own lives that it's real. And because there's so much hypocrisy, even with Christians, there's so much lies and deceit and manipulation in the world that even Christians don't know who to trust as far as humans go. We trust in the Lord, and that's the only hope we have, because even those that are Christians will fail us. Even they may even lie to us, they may even deceive us, because we are all flesh and blood. We all fail miserably. None of us are perfect, and none of us are going to be perfect in this world. But anyway, we need to do our job. That's what he's left us here to do, a job, to share him with others. Let's see here. Matthew 5:16. Let me read that one to you. That what he shared with me. This is where our responsibility comes in, is what he's called us to do. Matthew 5:16 says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Unless we share our light, the light that Jesus has put in us, and be that true light. Realize that we're always being, those that say that they're saved are always being watched, because people that are lost, or people that have gotten away from the Lord, they want to see that it's real. They want to see that, even in times of great distress, of craziness, and we know that it's getting worse. Even lost people can see that the times are getting worse. This world has gone crazy, and it's getting worse all the time, and it's going to stay that way. But anyway, we need to let our light shine before men, and let them see how Christ is working in us, and let them let that draw them to the Lord. That's His job. We just do what He's asked us to do, and that's His job to work in their hearts. Let's see here. What I said about 1 Corinthians 3:6, it says, some planted, some watered, but the Lord gives the increase. It's not my responsibility to save others. It is His. But it's my responsibility to plant, water, and be a light. And then we can't give up when life gets hard. So that's where that came in about treading water. If you're familiar with water, or you're a swimmer, I taught myself how to swim at a young age. I think I was a teenager, but I had always played in water, and I don't know how old I was before, because I've always loved water. I always loved to play around in water. And I don't remember. I know I went to Florida with my aunt and uncle when I was, I think, 15 or 16, and taught myself how to actually swim in the pool there at the hotel we stayed in. But anyway, I don't know at what age that I learned how to float on my back, or float period, on stomach or back. But life is like that. We are all in this so-called ocean of life. And, there's times when you are really, really tired. Jesus tells us to keep moving on, keep moving towards that heavenly shore. Keep working towards that. So we are all, if you're a believer, we are all headed towards the shore that Jesus has promised us, and which is heaven. But we're not doing it by ourselves. The Holy Spirit has been left here to help us. So He's there in this ocean called life with us. So we're not by ourselves. But there's times when we get really tired, and I've been that way. But sometimes you've got to stop and tread water for a little while, and sometimes you've got to just flip over on your back and float for a while. But even at that, the Holy Spirit is right there with you. And then when you are rested, then keep swimming. I was thinking of that little cartoon or animated movie, Finding Nemo. I like what Dory says. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. So you got to keep going. We can't give up. And because what have you got to look forward to if you give up? Let me read you another one that I found when I was studying this, and it's in John chapter 6, verse 66 through 69. Peter's confession. It says, "From that time many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. Then said Jesus unto the 12, Will you also go away? Then Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? Thou hast the words of life." So, even if we decided, okay, yes, I'm a Christian, but I am tired of fighting this battle, and I just want to give up. Well, where are we going to go? We have nowhere else to go. If we give up, what do we give up to? We can't give up. Jesus is the only answer for everything that we have to go through in this life, and we can't give up. We have no one else to go to. What are you going to give up? And where are you going to go if you give up on Jesus? So we can't give up on Him. He hasn't given up on us. And but that just really touched my heart. that he has not given up on us, and he won't give up on us. But let's see here, and then I also when I talked about the things getting more and more evil. Now, I didn't write down the verses. I think I know it's in the latter part of the New Testament where it talks about in the end times you have men people will be lovers of their own selves. It goes through all of that. But Jesus told us that the end will be as in the days of Noah. So Matthew chapter 24, verses 36 and 37 says, "But on that day or hour no man knoweth, not the angels in heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." And then if you go back in Genesis to the days of Noah, let's see, Genesis chapter 6, verse 5, it says, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." Are we not there? Are we not already there at the stuff that's going on that's not even being hidden anymore? It's all right out here in the open. And so it's, what have we got to look forward to except an eternity with Jesus? He will get us to that point, but we can't give up. We can't throw in the towel because number one is, where else would we go? We've got to keep swimming toward that shore. And then we've got others, that are swimming in this ocean of life that may or may not be believers. And if we give up, what happens to them? Not just our own families, but there's many others. I was thinking about that. I get discouraged sometimes because it can't seem like I can reach even my own family. But you know what? Jesus, as perfect as he is or was, could not reach his own people in his own town. Even his half-brother James, which James did not, from what I understand, I know the Bible doesn't tell about that, but it's told in other books, but other books besides the Bible, like some history books. But anyway, he didn't even get saved until after Jesus' resurrection and ascension. So if James, who lived in the house with Jesus, didn't, they couldn't get past that. This is somebody I grew up with. How can he be the Son of God? If Jesus couldn't do it, reach his own family, who am I to think that I can reach mine? Because, they, most of the time, in all honesty, they don't want to hear it because they have heard it for so long that they've just turned a deaf ear. That's just like having kids, where you tell them something over and over and over again, and they just they tune you out. They turn a deaf ear, and they don't want to hear it. So it's the same thing with things of God. If they're not at a point where Jesus can reach them, all you're doing is just they're turning a deaf ear to what you're saying. The most important thing you can do, especially if they are refusing to hear anything about the Lord, is live it in front of them. Because there's going to come a time that they're going to reach out to you. I've had the pleasure of that. Mom, will you pray about this for me? Or Mama, will you pray for me? Or they'll talk to me about the Lord. And I tell you what, there's nothing that brings me more joy than that. Is to be asked, will you pray for me? Or can I talk to you about this? Or do you know about this? My oldest daughter does that a lot, and it thrills my heart. But the rest of the kids are not at a point. They're not at a point right now where they talk to me about the Lord, or where they want to know more about the Lord. But you know what? It may not be me that reaches them. It may be somebody else, even long after I'm gone. I know my dad talked about that one time where there was, I think, 10 of the kids in his family. He had 10 brothers and sisters, and I think maybe only 2 or 3 had come to know the Lord before his before their mom passed away. She prayed. She was a very godly woman. I've talked to you about. Excuse me. I've told you about how my grandmother was my paternal grandmother. My dad's mom was a very godly lady, and I knew even at an early age that she prayed for me. And even when I was still a small child, she would hold me up in her lap in the rocking chair and pray for me, because I had a lot of toothaches, a lot of earaches, and she would always pray for me. And but if she lived a godly life, and yet her children didn't come to know the Lord, except for the few of them, before she passed away, that doesn't mean her prayers were not heard. They were heard. And it was years later that some of them came. I'm not sure if all of them come to know the Lord, but it was years later before several more of them did. Even my dad was probably in his, she died when he was probably early 30s, and I think he was probably 50 before she came to know the Lord, or before he came to know the Lord. So anyway, in his 50s. But it's our prayers are going to be answered. I know the Bible speaks of that, and I believe it's in Revelation where it's the prayers of the saints being poured out. Our prayers will be answered one day, because that's important to God. It's important to us, and it's important to Him. But anyway, so let's be like Dory. Just keep swimming, and or floating or treading water, wherever you're at in your walk with the Lord. Give yourself a break. And, sometimes you just need to float for a little while. Sometimes you just need to tread water. But don't give up. We have a reason to keep going. Where else would we go if we didn't have Jesus? But anyway, I hope this helped you. I know it has helped me. And just be that light that the world needs to see. Even if you think your kids are not listening, your kids or your grandkids, even if you think that they're not listening, I bet you they're watching. So keep trucking, keep swimming. I love you, and I hope you have a blessed day.